What do a professional freestyle skier, an avid bow hunter, and a grizzly attack have in common? Well, I'm going to tell you. In today's episode, we're going to sit down with Bob Legasa. He has led an incredible life. He might be the most interesting man in North Idaho. Happy to have this conversation. It was incredible from start to finish. And we ended up with his story of surviving a grizzly bear attack that definitely changed my mindset on what I will carry in the woods in the future. So stick around. It is an excellent episode. Let's go. Welcome to North Idaho Experience, a podcast for the people of North Idaho and those who are North Idaho curious. These are the stories of those who call North Idaho home. If you guys are thinking about making North Idaho your home, give our real estate team a call. We would love to help you make that move. All right, today, special guest, we've got Bob Legasa. Man, you gave me this bio and there's so much on here. I won't even hit the tip of the iceberg, but professional skier, you've done a lot. What else was on here that were like some of the highlights? Producer. Wait, is that right? Yeah, television show host, yep. Producer. Okay, bow hunter. That's not even on here, but I know you're in that world.
That's not on there. That's a whole different deal.
That's how we got connected, because we had Dan Staten from Elk Shape on a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Have you guys talked to Bob?" And I'm like, "I don't know Bob." Yep. And here we are.
That was recommended from somebody else that was on. You got to get Bob Legasa.
Yeah. We're like, okay, it's going to be a good time. Because there's a story coming up. Here's the spoiler alert or whatever. We're going to talk about a grizzly attack that Bob survived. So that's coming up. So if you're thinking about ducking out, you better stick around, because that's going to be good. Join with me today. I was asked, because when people are just listening to the podcast, they don't know all of our voices. So if you don't know me and you're not watching the video, I'm Seth Horst, and Eric Boardman's joining me today with Bob, of course. So thanks for coming, man. Really appreciate having you here.
I appreciate you asking me to come in, man. Yeah. This is awesome.
Are you a local, like born and raised here?
Not born and raised here, okay. But I've been here for 47 years. I went to Coeur d'Alene High. That was the best 6 years of my life. And no, I moved up here when I was, I think, 14 years old in 1973.
Okay.
Actually, I've been here almost 50 years. And then in 1977, I moved up here full time. So actually, yeah, 47 years.
From where?
California.
Okay.
Yeah.
What part? I don't think anyone's going to hold that against you. You've been here longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
So.
Northern California. Yeah. From the Bay Area. Okay. Yeah. My mom and my father.
I don't count that as, so if it's south of Sacramento, that's Southern California to me, just for the record.
So, yeah, my mother and father got divorced at a young age, and I lived with my mom, and my stepfather is a fireman. And I came up every summer when my dad moved up here, just wanted a different lifestyle, and he was all about hunting and fishing. And came up during the summers and during Christmas break. And then that one Christmas break in 1977, I said, fuck it, I'm not going back.
Yeah.
Good move.
Yeah, it wasn't good with my mom for a little while, but, you know, this is everything about North Idaho is me.
And that's impressive. You made the move before it was even cool. And California wasn't even a shithole back then. Like, it was actually a decent place to live.
Yeah.
So
Where I lived, and I don't want to say inner city, but I just lived, outside of San Francisco, a place called San Bruno. And my high school, I did not like going there. If I went to the wrong corner of the school, I'd get my ass kicked, by, all sorts of different groups. And it was just that type of atmosphere. You hung out with your group, and, the shit that I did on the weekends I probably would have been in prison. So it was good. Okay. I mean, I was not doing anything to better myself or my future. If anything, it was just, getting effed up. And and when I moved up here, it was total game changer. Just, light switch went on and off, and or went on, and everything was about skiing. And that was my go-to.
Yeah.
Man, it almost seems like, because we talk about this a lot when you're coaching youth sports, it's taking that energy you had then and then directing it towards something constructive and positive.
Exactly.
Where there's a void of those activities, kids will fill that with less productive, more potentially damaging activities. Good on you knowing that at 14 years old.
Yeah.
What was the ski scene like here back then?
Well, there's Schweitzer Mountain Resort,
Yep.
and then there was Silverhorn, which is now Silver Mountain.
Yeah.
There was Lookout Pass, which was really, really small. You had Mount Spokane and 49 degrees north. So when I was in high school, 77, got my first season pass up at Schweitzer, and I've had one pretty much every year up until now.
It's got to be a record. You might.
No, I don't think it's a record, but yeah, it's been a great ride, and it's been awesome to kind of see the progression that the resort has had, or the progress that the resort has had over the years. Most of it has been really, really good.
Yeah.
And the ski scene was, in high school, everybody skied, and it was a fun time. Wednesday nights, so I just kind of started skiing in Northern California at Heavenly Valley and Squaw Valley.
Good old Tahoe.
Yeah, Tahoe. I belong to a group called the Mogul Ski Club. On Saturday mornings, we'd get dropped off down at the Burlingame Safeway, and a bus would pick us up and 45 other kids. And we'd ride the bus up to Squaw Valley and ski for the day, and then get back that night. And I mean, it was like from a 4 a.m. till
That's a long day. That's
11 p.m.
3-hour drive.
Yeah,
or something.
it was brutal.
More.
And that's the way I got hooked. And then when I came up here, always had, I don't want to say a daredevil personality, but I always liked to push things. So freestyle skiing was definitely a draw for me.
Yeah.
And going up skiing at Schweitzer, met some guys that I was going to high school with that, I really didn't know them from school, but we started skiing together. My friend Dan Herbie, who we met in accounting class, I got kicked out, and teacher asked if anybody else would like to go, and Dan raised his hand, and that's how that started.
Best friend. Did we just become best friends?
That's hilarious.
Pretty much. And so from there, I just, skied Mount Spokane on Wednesday nights, and that's because I just love skiing. And then Schweitzer Saturdays and Sundays. And then in 1978, started doing my first freestyle competitions. And I mean, I'd only been skiing for 3 years, and I was just getting my ass handed to me. 1979, got better. 1980, a lot better. And that was pretty much the progression that I had.
What was freestyle skiing like back then compared to how it is now?
It was more free. I can tell you that. Mogul skiing right now, if you've seen it, they're man-made moguls, and everybody skis the exact same line, which we call a zipper line. It's just boom, 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 air, boom, 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 air. And before it was, you had to pick your, moguls are just big bumps in the snow, and you can look at this as a palette that you can just have whatever you want to do with it. There's some moguls over there on the left-hand side. I'll ski that section. There's a nice big air bump there. It was more free. The tricks of what you could do in the air were much less difficult than what you see now in the sport. But it was also a progression. I come from what we call the second generation of freestyle skiing. First generation was the 70s when it was big, and, my mentors, who are all actually my friends now, those guys would win 2 Chevy vans in a weekend, a Corvette. They would private jet from Heavenly Valley to Aspen, do a 1/4 ounce of blow on there. It was just, that was the 70s in freestyle. It was crazy, crazy. And then in the 80s, it was became more disciplined where I started, because there was this, rumor and this big push that we were trying to get freestyle skiing into the Winter Olympics. And we lost that bid in 84, freestyle being accepted as an Olympic sport, to the sport of curling, which,
I mean, obviously, right? I mean, curling is very intense.
A huge
sport.
draw.
Yeah.
Freestyle skiing got its first Olympic debut in 88, which was mogul skiing, aerials, and also ballet skiing. There were 3 different disciplines. And then obviously, well, not obviously, but there was the combined. So if you had a skier who competed in all 3, they could win the combined title. I'm not sure if the Olympics had that back then, if we had combined, and I know they don't now. But it's definitely changed over the years as far as the progression of the sport with inverted aerials and moguls. And I think most people know, especially California, the golden child, Johnny Mosley, and winning in 98 in Nagano with what we call 360 mute grab. And then in 2002, he took one for the team as far as the freestyle team. He probably could have won the event, but he tried to do a new trick, to qualify a new trick. He was qualified to do this trick. They'd watched him do it numerous times in practice, and he tried to do this in the Olympics. It was called a D-spin, which was an inverted trick off of a mogul with 720. And he ended up getting fourth place. But ever since that point, those type of off-axis inverted tricks are now allowed in moguls. And when I was in the 70s or in the 80s, inverted aerials were forbidden. You'd get your pass pulled. You'd get disqualified. You'd get kicked out of the U.S. Ski Association if you did inverted aerials in a unsanctioned area, which was only at that point pretty much like a water ramp where you could go off a plastic jump and land in water. It definitely has changed, over the years, and a lot of things have been really good. The degree of difficulty all the way through the line has just been insane. From when I was competing in the 80s, and the big tricks for the aerialists were triple flips with triple twists. Ooh. Full twist on the first, full twist on the second, full twist on the third. Some sort of what would you call combination? One might do a half twist on the first, just a no twist on the second, another half twist on the third. There was just all sorts of combinations. Now they're doing 5 twists with 3 flips, and it's insane.
It doesn't even make sense.
No, my brain can't comprehend. When I see it, I'm like, that looks crazy. I can't even count what's going on.
And as someone who knows the sport, I mean, I've got to watch a jump on video a couple of times to figure out, was that 2 twists on the first flip or 2 twists on the second flip? Because that's what the judges do, and it's broken down, per flip. The degree of difficulty is insane. The speed that they go in the moguls is insane. The tricks that they do in the moguls are insane. The only thing I don't like about the sport now in mogul skiing, it's pretty much cookie cutter. Your top 10 people, I'm going to say your top 20 people, to the person who's not really knowledgeable in the sport, they couldn't tell the difference between first and 20th, because it's like right down to it. There are, 2 or 3 guys and 2 or 3 gals who each are hands down the best in their group, but it's not that big of a difference. But you can see it, but it's not, to me, it's not as exciting. It's not free.
Well, yeah, it seems to me like what you're saying is if it's all man-made moguls and the runs are the same and they're identical everywhere you go, it's very choreographed what all their tricks are going to be, as opposed to back in the day where they were kind of naturally made and it was free-flowing and creative and you could adjust it mid-run and, just see what that run was. It was more art, if that makes sense.
Exactly. You nailed it. You nailed it. I mean, everybody on the top jump does pretty much the same trick.
Right.
Every jump or every person on the second jump does pretty much the second trick, or does the same trick. And one thing that I don't like, speed is such an important factor of it, that a lot of people at the bottom, if they're neck and neck with their person and their person they're dueling, one person might suck up the jump rather than popping and going really high and going fairly far and landing. They'll suck up the jump so they don't go very high, but they carry a distance. And that's where that's where they win the speed. They pass that person in the air and they land in front on that last second bump. So now they're 5 feet in front of them,
Right.
and they get that speed point. So it's not as free.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you make? I mean, did you make a career out of this, or like were you making money?
I did.
Doing this?
I did.
Okay.
I made a career out of it and still kind of making a career out of it. So I'll kind of give you the rundown of what happened.
Yeah.
1980 to 84, living in Squaw Valley. And
Sorry to pause you. I can only imagine how much neon was going on at that time.
The 80s, the tight pants.
Yeah.
not quite at that time.
That's all I can picture.
Early it was pretty much 87
Okay,
that the neon came out. Oh yeah, and I had an
I bet
You
you
were
some
about
good
it.
pictures.
Yeah. You were about that life. Don't lie.
Oh yeah,
That's okay.
Oh yeah, the mullet, the flow. yeah. So 80 to 85, just competing in the U.S. and started being one of the top skiers in the Far West Division and one of the top skiers in the Rocky Mountain Division when I lived in Steamboat. From there, if you're in the top group, then you go to the U.S. Nationals, and if you're in the top U.S. Nationals or the top finishes in the U.S. Nationals, then you're selected or seeded to the U.S. ski team, which they have A, B, and C teams. And when I was competing, we only had 2 A and B teams. So in 86, I believe, 85, 86, I was on the U.S. ski team, and we traveled around the world competing. 87, I got a call from a friend of mine who was working for the Volvo car company, and he locked down a deal like in 83 with Volvo cars where he would travel around the world as the Volvo ski show and do freestyle exhibition. So we'd have a jump that was literally 30 feet wide, and on each outside of each jump, there would be 2 upright jumps, which were 35 to 38 degrees in an angle, and they were about 10 feet tall. Next to that, you had your double and triple jumps, which were about 11 to 12 feet tall, and they had a degree on the front slope of anywhere from 63 to 65 degrees. So it shoots you pretty much straight up in the air where you can do your double and triple flips. And then that middle section, which was probably 10 feet wide, was about 45 degree pitch, and that's where we'd do back layouts. So we had these formations that we'd jump where we'd have, 8 guys in the air at one time, rapid fire, just all this cool stuff. And then in between, there would be ballet skiing over on the side. It was basically just a small venue of a jump hill, and right next to it, about 50 yards wide and 200 yards long maybe, was the ballet hill. And there was usually 2 or 3 ballet skiers, and as they were doing ballet, the jumpers were getting back up the hill on the rope tow. And so this was just a choreographed thing that we did all over the world. And I did that up until probably 91. And it was awesome. Traveled to 7 different countries, did all sorts of cool shows in different places, like New Year's one time in France, and that was awesome.
Were you married at the time?
No, I wasn't.
I can only imagine.
yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I had to ask.
No, I wasn't. And
So what, like mid-20s?
yeah, I was like 25.
Okay.
So
A lead athlete abroad in Europe.
Yeah.
I was international relations
With
is an
a- with a
important
mullet-
subset of your mission.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
respect to you, sir. Yes.
It was quite a ride, and from that, I had so many different doors just open up for me. So, our first winter of doing the Volvo ski show, and let me backtrack here a little bit. So I get on the Volvo ski team, and this is in the summer, and we're just kind of getting things laid out. And it's like, well, we got spot for one more person who can do both ballet and aerials. And I said, what about Herbie? My best friend who I went to high school with. So now Dan Herbie's on the team. He was on the U.S. ski team with me. He was actually the national freestyle champion at one time. And then we were on the U.S. ski team together. Then the next year we're on the Volvo ski show for the next, 5 years. Then our first check that we got at the end of the season.
Hang on, lesson learned out there for those that are listening. Quit your accounting class and go skiing with your buddy. All right? There's your lesson right there.
First thing that we did when we got back with kind of a fistful of cash is we bought a portable ski jump from a friend of ours that we had done some what we call indoor shows, like at the indoor trade shows, where we jump off this plastic jump, 10 feet off the ground, land into an airbag or a foam pit, and just entertain people. So we did that. We started this company called Outrageous Air. And we were traveling the West Coast doing all the major city ski shows, Seattle Ski Show, LA Ski Dazzle, San Diego, on and on and on. We do probably around 8 of those shows from September through the 1st of December. And one of the groups that we were involved with, they brought in these trampolinists that were the Fergus brothers. And these guys were like circus clowns. Circus trampolinists. So we started integrating together, doing some ski shows with them. Daryl calls me up in 1989. Hey, I've got an idea about, I've got a friend who has Casablanca fans, and we've done Rose Bowl parade floats before. Ooh. What do you think about doing a ski jump on a Rose Bowl parade float? And I'm like, yeah.
It sounds awesome.
So it was pretty interesting. This was basically like a truck and a trailer. Imagine a semi and a long semi-trailer. And on the semi-trailer was the ski jump. And the semi up front was just cut down to where it was kind of like what they did in Animal House with that Cadillac, where you couldn't even see the driver. And that was all covered, the driver was kind of hidden. And that was designed as the landing hill. And we would land into what was like a Western bar. And so we were dressed up in cowboy stuff, and we had, cool. It was wild. I mean, going down in Pasadena, I can't think of the name of the drive that the parade is held on, but every time that you'd go back up and jump, which would be probably every 5 minutes, by the time that the skiers got down and you take this little rope tow back up, you'd have 100,000 people on the side just screaming. It was fun. It was pretty scary in the early days, or that summer, when the engineering and coming up with this. I flew home from LA a few times.
We're pretty sure this is going to work. I'm really pretty positive this is going to work. Yeah.
I came home pretty bruised up a few times, like what the hell did I get into?
I can see a lot of things that could go wrong with that. You've got a moving vehicle. If you overshoot the landing,
if they vary their speed, if the pitch of the road is different, yeah. I mean,
so that's a story in itself. My buddy Dan Herbie, I saved his life. So Colorado Boulevard, that's it. So there is a section on Colorado Boulevard, which is like a hairpin turn. It's like a full 90-degree turn. And on that corner is where all the scaffolding is set up for all of the broadcasters. You'll have ABC, NBC. I mean, every network is there, and they're filming this corner, and it's like the truck and trailer, or the float, is coming literally feet away from this building. But as we're getting ready to go, and it's Herbie's turn, and the truck starts to make the turn a little bit, and I'm like, I grabbed him, I'm like, don't go.
Yeah.
Because if he would have gone, he would have probably missed and landed in the scaffolding. So that was the one save that I did for him.
Yeah.
And then the next one comes back to the angle of the road. We started going down a small hill. So the pitch went from, say, 35 degrees or 30 degrees going down for the in run to maybe about 35 degrees, where it was like almost a free fall, and I had to grab him again.
Don't do it.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just from there I saw that idea as it just kind of that opened up it opened up my mind to what else we could do with the jump. So we started doing some NFL halftime events. Those were cool. At halftime, we'd wheel our jump out to the end zone. We put our jump on wheels. We'd lock them down, bring the airbag out, and we'd do trampoline and ski jump for like 7 minutes. And it was intense. It was fun.
How high are you launching off of that jump?
Oh, the jump itself was probably, the top of the jump was about 26 feet off the ground.
Oh.
And the land, or the kicker where you take off was, I think, 9 or 10 feet off the ground. Then we would land into an airbag, which is 2 feet. So we would go up, 16, 17, 18 feet, depending on how high you go. And you could get more speed by the lubricant that you put on your ski, on the bottom of your skis, that would make you slide.
Yeah.
So
Astroglide?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. What?
There's a backstory to that.
Oh, I can imagine.
Water slide.
Tell you
Yeah.
that in confidence.
Yeah.
At the water slide. It was for a water slide. Gosh.
So that opened up some doors. So we did a few NFL halftime events and just loved being able to ski. And then when we retired from Volvo ski shows, we started doing our own outrageous air show at Schweitzer. And we did a few at a few other resorts around the nation. But I did air shows at Schweitzer for about 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And we'd do sometimes 2 a year. Then we started doing them pretty much just at night. We got rid of the ballet skiing because ballet kind of fell apart, or just
It's not as exciting.
Yeah, it's good, what we call filler. But it was just basically a jump show that we do, and we do it at night with fireworks and fire, and it was damn fun.
Do you have a favorite trick, like your go-to?
Oh, well, I mean, I could always spin pretty well, as far as, helis and 720s, and there's nothing better than just a huge back layout where, I mean, you're going 60 feet, you're 25 feet up in there, and you're just flying, and it just seems like everything's in slow-mo.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, difficult tricks are fun, especially when you land them. But to do the simple tricks, the easy tricks, and just kind of lock things out, and it's just everything's in slow-mo and it's effortless.
Can you still do this?
I did my last backflip at 60 years old, and came in a little short though. A friend of mine, we were on a cat skiing trip. He was a member of the U.S. ski team also when we were John Witt, and we go cat skiing and heli skiing up in British Columbia every year. And I think when we were about 55 years old, we were both pretty beat up at that point, knees and just one thing or another's hurting.
Oh, yeah, it's hard on the chassis. That job choice is hard on the chassis.
And we said, hey, when we're 60 years old, man, we got to chuck one more backflip. And when we got up there, I'm like, Whit, we're 60, man. We got to do this.
He's like, I thought we were just drunk. All right.
And we did that on our last day. And John went a little bit by on his, and I came in just a little short. But it was, and they were both of us went pretty big. I mean, we probably went 50, 60 feet.
Okay, yeah.
And
I'd be impressed.
It was like, it was it was not an ideal jump to do what we wanted to do at our age, but we both sent it, and it was a good time.
Survived it. I'm still thinking back to that decision as Bob in his mid-20s, because you guys are looking at the precipice of the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And then your buddy calls you and you're like, man, that is an adventure. I mean, that's a significant, I imagine there was a lot that went into it because you're one of the best free skiers in the country. And you're like, all right, so we're looking at the Olympics, but instead I have this other thing where, it's the unknown. But then you travel the whole world and see a totally different.
It was, that was one of the, let me go back that that helps kind of set the stage a little bit on this, on the Olympic thing. Mm-hmm. So in order to compete in the Olympics or on the U.S. ski team, you could not make money as an athlete doing that sport. It wasn't until I think 92 with the Dream Team.
Oh, yeah, they changed
that
it.
kind of changed. It might have changed a year or two before that, but if you were a professional athlete and you received money, you could not compete in an amateur event, especially the Olympics. So in 1983, both Dan, Herbie, and I, we were in the movie Hot Dog. We were stunt doubles in that. It was filmed in Squaw Valley, which was our home base. And I asked, and so did Dan, asked that our names not be put in the credits so that we did not get the recognition if United States Ski Association said, hey, well, you made money. Any sort of money that you did make, you would have to run through the U.S. Ski Association, and they would take their 10%. Yeah,
Of course.
so isn't that what kind of like mafia type
That
stuff?
is
Yeah,
dirty.
No, I think they're
Yeah.
run like government.
yeah, yeah. Government's more.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were very adamant about that, and Herbie got his name in the credits, and I didn't, which was great. Although now it's like, oh shit, man, after the movie was done and we saw it the next year, it's like, oh, that was cool. We were in a Hollywood movie, and it pretty much just went away after that winter. 10 years later, I remember seeing it on HBO. It's like, wow. And then I saw that there was the 20-year reunion down in Tahoe. And on the 30th, we got called to go down there and be in the 30th anniversary of it, where they brought out all of the a lot of the old actors and a lot of the stunt people, and it was just this insane party. I mean, it was wild. And then we went down last year for or 2 years ago, what was the 40th anniversary of it. And I think that'll probably be it, because there's a couple that are in their
Still
70s.
still recovering from the party.
That was from the 30th anniversary. Oh, yeah.
That's so cool.
80s skiing, I imagine, like it's such a tight-knit culture. It's almost like surfing, where it's like its own little group, and everybody, the folks that were in it all knew each other.
Pretty much.
And traveled together. That's awesome.
If I watched a movie or I saw a commercial that had skiing in it, or anything that had skiing, I could look at a photo and I could pretty much tell you who that person was. And that's the way it is with most skiers. Everybody has an own unique style. You can kind of tell by body build or whatever it
signature.
might be. A signature, yeah. So the 80s and 90s were, kind of that way. It was a great ride.
What's it like now? I'm sure you still ski, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any difference when you go out there? I mean, you're not doing the big jumps.
No, I stopped. I stopped jumping in probably 94 as far as jumping.
Okay.
But I was still producing the show up at Schweitzer, and I think it might have been like 96 that I stopped. So I was producing the air show up at Schweitzer, and I just hire all these young guns. And one of my good friends, who I kind of hired I hired as kind of the on-site jump builder. That was his job. He built all the jumps for the Olympics in Vancouver, all of the World Cup sites in the United States. So he had his shit together, and he knew how to do this. And his name's Suey, Brad Suey. We call him Sue Dog. Sue Dog's like, man, you got to chuck another backflip. And this was in probably 2006 or 7. I'm like, yeah. And so at lunch, when on a Saturday we had a show Saturday night, I'm like, all right, let's go. So Sue Dog was up there and got me set up with where to start from speed, and made that first one around and went back up and did like 5 more at lunch. I'm like, yeah.
Good.
So Herbie comes skiing down. He's not there during this practice session. He'd been out free skiing. Comes back down. I'm like, Herb, you better get your jump skis on. He goes, why? And I'm like, I'm chucking backflips tonight. He's like, you bastard.
Because he can't say no. Yeah.
So, yeah, he did that with me, and neither of our wives knew. So I'm the guy who runs this show. I'm up on the top of the jump hill on that, what we call the knoll, the flat section. The jump's behind me, landing hill's in front of me, and I stand out there. I've got Gary Ellen from Rock 94 as our announcer, and I'm just, kind of talking with him the whole time. And at the start of the ski show, he already kind of knew. He's like, where's Bob? Where's Bob? And all of a sudden the lights come on up at the top of the jump, and the fireworks start shooting off, and I'm leading the charge with the group of my skiers behind us. And as my daughter said, it looked like a dump truck flying through the air.
Thanks, honey.
But anyway, that was I came back at it, and I think I was almost like 46 or 47, somewhere about that age.
Yeah.
And I did it for about 3 more shows, and that was pretty much it. And it had been probably 10 years since the last one, I think I was like 50. And the last one that I did was when I was 60. And
What makes you, how do you know when it's like, I should stop?
I think,
You didn't fall or hurt yourself.
I don't want to, okay, fear is part of it.
Yeah.
But the fear of the injury and knowing just how your body is not, my body's not nearly as strong as it once was. I mean, you know, issues with knees, you know, new knee replacement here. Just you kind of get that. It just hits. You know, most everybody that I know that is my age, you know, they don't ski nearly as much as like, you know, Dan and I, and it's like, man. I don't know how you guys could do that, and there's certainly no way that I could ever do that now. I could probably go out and do one if I had a good landing. Especially, I'd love to do it in powder because it's, you know, it's not as bad. But I think that I'm pretty sure that I've hit that mark where I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm
sure if someone held a gun to your head. And, you bust one out.
Was your wife mad at you, or is she just accepted? She's like, yeah,
she's just accepted it. Yeah, she's had to accept a lot of things that I've done that she didn't know, and she'll see it happen.
We have very similar spouses where I think they just recognize there's always going to be something.
Exactly. Yeah.
What when you look back on your whole ski career, do you have one thing that you're like most proud of?
I don't know. I've got there's so many things that are just highlights of what I've been able to do, and I think one of the most important things to me that is in my mind are the times with my friends, and I mean I can remember on certain things that I did that were, you know, that were fun or memorable. I can pretty much remember everybody who was there with me and kind of just the lead up and what we did afterwards. It's just those memories are really important. I mean, I've got, you know, a dozen different fun things that really stick in my mind as far as what I've been able to do. One of them was after I retired from the Volvo ski show, I got a phone call from KXOY in Spokane, and they said, "Hey, we're thinking about doing a thing called Ski Tips in our nightly news." And I'm like, that sounds interesting, but I'm not a ski instructor. It's like, well, it's more just kind of informational things. So I went over and kind of auditioned for this, and the guy who was my cameraman, Jim Bolzer, he had done something like this in Bend, Oregon with somebody. He kind of coached me. So next thing you know, we've been doing this for like 4 years, and we started doing some half-hour TV shows out of it. And that right there opened up a lot more doors as far as cool places to go and get your vacation documented. And then one of our shows won an Emmy Award, and that was a nice highlight.
That's cool.
Yeah. Love that.
The funny part about it was I won the Emmy Award 3 months after I got fired.
Okay, that's almost better.
It kind of was.
Yeah. What are you getting your Emmy Award, Seth?
Yeah.
What's up?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can we switch gears a little bit? Because you are also, from what we've been told, an avid bow hunter.
Yes.
Maybe even an accomplished bow hunter.
This is what I live for. Yeah.
So were these two going on at the same time? Have you been bow hunting a long time?
I've had a bow in my hand since probably 1973.
Have you ever shot a bow while on skis?
No.
Really?
No.
It seems like a natural progression.
I thought about
a natural progression to me.
A little while ago.
Yeah.
But I've had a bow in my hand pretty much all the way through, but pretty much the 1980s to about probably 89. I didn't hunt much because the month of September, October, November, and early December, I was doing these indoor trade shows. And I mean, every once in a while I'd come home, you know, if we had a 10-day break and I'd go duck hunt for a couple days and just kind of get my affairs in order. You know, I've been gone for 2 months. So I didn't really hunt as much. I used to hunt a lot when I was a kid. Nothing, you know, like what I do now, but, you know, I'd hunt with my dad. We'd go up for the weekend or go up for the day or whatever. And after I think it was 1989, my dad got me a bow for Christmas, compound bow. And I mean, these things were pretty rudimentary back then. And I started shooting the bow. I was like, okay. And Herbie got a bow too. And we went elk hunting the first time, and we had elk bugling. And it was like, holy smokes.
That's
I
a hell
mean,
of a
we could
sound.
see them, 30 yards away, and we're just learning how to do this. And that was pretty much kind of the real start. And from then on, it's like, okay, we'd be, go for hunting for 5 days. And then we started hunting in the mid 90s, where we'd take, hunt every weekend, and then hunt for like a 10-day period. And it's like, okay. And then that's been pretty much the go-to for the last, since then. Although the last 5 or 6 years I've been hunting, probably 10 years, I've been hunting about almost 2 months straight. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few breaks in there. There was one time where we did do 6 weeks in a row, just straight. Gone, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. And that was awesome. And I strive to do that again, and I'm hoping to do that again next year. I just keep getting new projects that are taking that out of the element.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the game plan again. I used to guide over in Montana for an outfitter, and I stopped doing that last year just because my days in the field were getting less, or my days hunting in the field were getting less just because now I'm guiding, which I love doing. I mean, it's as fun, but I love the meat too. I mean,
Yeah.
and if I don't get something during archery season, then I'm really limiting myself with what I can hunt and rifle because now I'm guiding. I guide a little bit during archery, usually for family. The first week, guided my son-in-law and his brother, and the last week I would guide some other people. Actually, the guy who did my knee, Jeff Lyman and his brother Matt. So, That's cool. I love doing it, but it is my time is more precious as far as for. I hate to be selfish, but me time.
Yeah.
What's the biggest draw for you? I mean, you spend 6 weeks in the woods. Is it being in the woods? Is it disconnecting, or is it the hunt? Is it the meat?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's the adventure. I live for adventure. I mean, if it's shitty, you're gonna have a good story at the end of it.
Right.
And I love just being out there. I love living in my camp trailer. I love being in the mountains, watching the sunrise, watching it sunset, hearing elk bugle, just the whole thing about it, just the adventure in itself. And I feel that I'm fairly skilled at it, that can usually get in and have some sort of interaction with elk, pretty much on a daily basis. And it's in my DNA. I mean, this is what I live to do. Yeah.
How many elk have you harvested over the years? You got an idea?
I think probably about 12 or 13. Yeah. I'm not a Dan Staten. Yeah. But it's something that I live for it. Yeah. It's just being there.
There's something, I'm very new to this, but there's something primal when you're out there and you hear an elk bugle for the first time and you've got a bow or a rifle in your hands. It's like, you can't describe it. I know but it's a strange feeling.
It'll make the hair stand up
prehistoric.
on the back of your neck if you're not ready for a bugle. And it's like, 7 or 8 years ago, we were working some elk and we thought we had them pegged, and we're kind of focused on this one area that's like in front of me, and give out a cow call, and literally 20 yards behind me, I mean directly behind me, that bull let out a bugle, and it was like,
Bone
just
chilling.
the intensity. Yeah, and every every elk hunt is always got, some sort of exciting, whether it be the hike getting in there. Last year when I had some friends from Texas that we were hunting in Montana, and I'm like, well, I've been up there once before and it's a nasty ass climb. But when we get up there, it'll be good. Well, it was, it got slightly off the track that I did the first time, which was still pretty challenging. But we had a section of about 15 feet of vertical wall that we had to climb up and grabbing onto shit. And it's like, if I fall, I die.
Yeah, this is it.
And I'm like, this isn't worth it. But,
we're here.
I'm here now. And I'm like, okay, it was an adventure. Yeah.
Man, can we hear the story about the Grizzly?
Yeah, have you ever had a hunting adventure that stuck out?
I think we're there.
So I have a good friend that I spend a lot of time hunting with. His name is Greg Gibson. He's up in Sandpoint. He's used to work at Schweitzer running their ski patrol or second in command for 40-something years. I mean,
wow.
Not that it was at that level, but he's retired and he just worked up there in the winter doing that. Just loves it. And so he hunts all the time. So we've been hunting in Montana for probably about the last 15 years.
Do you like hunting over there better than Idaho?
I do.
Is it the landscape is different or?
Well, the landscape is different, and we don't have the elk population that we did. Ever since the wolf reintroduction,
Dare you blame it on the wolves?
It went to shit. I mean, it really did.
Yep.
In the early 90s, we would get elk, bugling and encounters on a regular, almost a daily basis, even when we were starting. And then by about 2005, it started just, I could go 4 or 5 days and not hear anything. I mean, it was like that. And in 2008 is when I went over to Montana to film a hunt for a friend of mine, and I got introduced to Montana, and it was game changing. And from then on, I really focus a lot on hunting over there, and anyway, going back to the bear encounter with Greg Gibson. It is in October. It's like the last weekend of the archery elk hunting in Montana. And we locate some elk on the Friday afternoon, and they're in the back of the small alfalfa field. And on the other side of the alfalfa field is the sagebrush for about 200 yards. And then you've got a hillside that, elk come down all the time to get into this alfalfa. But we see these elk hanging out in the back of the sagebrush, and it's like we can't get in there just the way the winds are and, trying to get around. We do know that this area, there are a lot of grizzly bears. They hang out in that area to basically harvest the elk themselves, It's a killing zone for them. So the next morning we'd come up with a game plan that night of what we were going to do. We're going to go down the road about a half a mile, get up on the side of the hill so we were elevated above the sagebrush. And the sagebrush is about like 8 to 10 feet tall.
Oh,
and
it's taller than I thought. Okay.
And it's like walking through a corn maze. It's like you don't know what's on the other side. All of a sudden, you're coming into a little creek where you drop down. And when you're in that creek, there's elk carcasses, from the bears. And so anyway, that next morning, it's snowing, and this is October 13th. It is snowing, big pancake-sized flakes. It's the first snow of the year. We park about right at the edge of the sagebrush, down about a half a mile. We wait until daylight, until we can actually kind of see across without headlights on. And we kind of beeline our way across, get up on the side of this hill, and we start making our way over. We can hear the elk bugling. We're up above the sagebrush, and we're looking down in there. We really can't see much because, the snow. We get probably about 200 yards away from where we think the elk are. We've gone now about that half mile. And we start kind of working our way down, and we see some open patches of sagebrush that's only like, what you expect sagebrush, 2 to 3 feet. It's like, okay, this is open enough. We can kind of see. Cruise down about another 100 yards, and we get positioned by these couple of tall trees that are right there. Elk are bugling now 100 yards away. So, all right, let's make a move up to this next group of trees, which is about 40 yards away. And it's kind of a little bit of a clearing. But we've got sagebrush, tall sagebrush, 20 yards on each side, 20 yards away on each side. And as we're literally taking 2 steps, I'm in the front. A sow or a cub rears up, growls, and takes off the other way. She's 15 yards away from me. And as soon as she takes off, both Greg and I yell, "Bear, bear." And the sow comes charging straight at me. And now she's, 15 yards away to start. I, raise my arms, like you were taught, be big, yelling bear. I've got my bow out there and just, swinging like this. Literally within 2 seconds, she's cleared half that gap. Now she's 7 yards away. Not very far. And at that point, it's like, I'm unprotected. I didn't grab my bear spray. I didn't grab my pistol. It just happened so fast. And I basically stood there like I was going to be in a barroom fight, man. I just braced myself and had my bow out in front and just hoping that as she's charging that she would just do, a blow by, and
right.
just get whiff of me and take off. Well, that didn't happen. It's like right when she got to about to where you were, I was backing up, and I think that I tripped. And when I tripped is when she grabbed me, and I had my arms out. She was able to grab my arm right here. I fell down on my ass. So by falling, it wasn't like getting hit by a linebacker, just standing right there. So I had a little bit of momentum going back, so it helped cushion that blow. And I'm on my ass, and I've got her mouth is around my arm, and I'm blocking and I'm kicking and just yelling to try and keep her claws and her head away from my face. After probably 2-3 seconds, she lets go of me and she rears up, and I remember looking up at her like, that's it. And then she drops down on my side, and now she's like from me to you. And I turn my body, and we're literally 2 feet away from one another. And her head is looking right here. And as I'm looking over there, I can see Gibson right over there with his bear spray. And he blasted her at point blank. She takes off running. And at that point, it dawned on me that he had sprayed her the first time, and she was going after him because he was the newest threat.
Right.
So she retreats. I'm sitting there. My face is just stinging from the
bear spray.
Well, the bear spray, and she hit me with her claws in several spots. I almost lost both my eyes. One eye was like literally millimeters, like maybe 2 or 3 millimeters away from being seriously effed up. I have a tear duct issue with it. If I'm in a warm car, it hurts. But anyway, so I'm sitting there on my ass, and I've got blood running down my face, and I have no idea how bad I am. I can't really see because of the bear spray. And I'm like, Gibson, how fucked up am I? And he's like, you're good. You've got some cuts all over, but it doesn't look like anything bad. And both of us now, he's got bear spray in his face. We're both, just, I don't want to say blind, but pretty well blinded. And we can't see where the grizzly ran off to. And it's snowing. And we're just, yelling, trying to get this, keep the bear away and get just kind of burn up a little bit of time where, the pain and where we can see. So I'm spitting water in my hands, and I'm throwing it in my eyes to try and, get that stuff to flush out. Greg's like, try some snow, and because that's what he's doing. And I remember I had my face in this sagebrush that had like 2 inches of snow on it, and just like, oh, this felt good. And I just remember it was just deathly quiet. And I'm like, I gotta focus, and I gotta be aware. And I mean, I was keeping my eyes open with my fingers, spitting water in my hands, throwing it in there. And as I was doing it, my left hand kept popping there, and I'm like, I think my arm's broken. And I'm feeling my arm, and it doesn't feel disconfigured. It doesn't really hurt, but my hand is clicking. And we wait there for probably about 15, 20 minutes. Like, all right, how are we going to get out of here? I think our best path is to get back out up on top of the hill again where we can see. So we make our way back up above the road, or going back to where the truck is above the road. And we see another opening in sagebrush about 60 feet wide, and we just kind of or 60 yards wide. We just make a beeline at a diagonal to the road, and we get back to the road. I'm sitting there just trying to, get water and shit in my face. Gibson makes a run to the truck, picks it up. We had rented a cabin down the road because we were only there for the weekend. And we drive to the cabin and, kind of assess things. So I take off my raincoat, and my fleece is just soaked with blood. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't see this before. Then I take off my fleece, and I've got like right here where there's a scar. It was like the length of your fingernail, of your thumb, and the width of it, just a hole and a big flap of skin. And I had teeth marks on the top of my wrist and my forearm and underneath, and then you could see the broken part of the bone. So he, being ski patrol, has a great first aid kit, and he kind of works me over and gets me splinted up. And we get in the truck, and we are going to Livingston, Montana, to the hospital there, which is an hour away. And as we're driving out, we get on this little 2-lane highway. We run into the outfitter that we worked for, and we told him what happened. So Edwin calls the Fish and Game. He called the sheriff, called the hospital. And we make it to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital, like I said, it's the first snowfall. There's cars going everywhere on the road. And in front of us, we watched a car go off the side, flip on its top, slide on the roof for like 50 yards down the highway and off the embankment. All the other cars pulled over. Like, holy shit. And I mean, it's like,
I want to help you, but
yeah. And then we kept going.
Sort of got attacked by a bear. I got to get somewhere.
Big deal. Yeah. So we get to the hospital in Livingston. As we walk in, the double slider opens up. Guy sitting behind the receptionist, sitting at the front desk there on the PA system. Your bear victims arrived. And from the ER room, those double doors open, and out walks a doctor, 2 nurses, wheelchair, and it was just like, gates of heaven had opened. It was bizarre.
Relief.
And it was so fast. I mean, literally within seconds of walking in there. They brought me in there, started kind of cleaning me up, flushing my eyes out. Literally within 5-10 minutes, sheriff pulls up, and he questions me, how this happened, was the bear aggressive? What do you think? Do we need to put the bear down? Fish and Game shows up a little bit later, same thing. It was amazing how quick they were on it. And both Greg and I agreed and told, both services that we didn't think that the bear needed to be put down. It was doing what bears do.
Right. You guys were there hunting the same prey animal.
And that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. It's not like this bear came running from 200 yards away and, we tried to deter it. It was literally 2 to 3 seconds from the time that we first saw her to the time that she was on me.
Right.
That fast. So.
Okay, so once you're all cleaned up, what's the list of injuries officially?
So, like I said, I almost lost one eye. The other eye had a nice scratch, probably a good centimeter away from it, and that was from the claws. I had scratches all over my face, but my arm was broken, and I can't remember what bone. It was a smaller bone down underneath that was snapped. And when they did the X-rays, it was decided that the bear's teeth had penetrated into the bone. So I had to stay in the hospital for 5 days with a flush where they were flushing out my system to make sure that I didn't have any bacteria in there from the bear. So I spent 5 days in the hospital, and I kind of thought, oh, broken arm, I'll be in and out, cast me up and I'll be good to go. And, back home in Idaho, tomorrow. Well, no, that was 5 days later that I was in the hospital. So broken arm. So anyway, they had to put a 11-inch plate in there, got a bunch of screws, got some good scars right in there.
So you got a metal plate. Try that again, huh? You just hold that up and no, probably not.
My face luckily didn't have any scars that stuck around, so I was pretty lucky on that end, and I learned a lot from that episode.
I mean, what could you have done differently? It seems like you were doing everything right.
I should have grabbed my bear spray first off the bat.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I should have grabbed my bear spray right off the bat, and I should have been ready with it. I carry both bear spray and a pistol. And
do you think a pistol would have? Do you think you could have done anything fast enough?
I'm telling you, bear spray is the ticket.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you both were in the law enforcement. Law enforcement. You know how tough it can be under duress to hit something with a pistol.
Sure. Yeah.
Something running at you 35 miles an hour, and you have to, in order to get a good kill shot on a grizzly, it's like you got to drop to a knee because they're down here, and if you're shooting from above and you hit that melon of theirs, a good chance that bullet's going to ricochet off that skull. Yeah. And you've got to get down low and drop to the knee and be able to, empty a clip on it that way. Bear spray is like hitting something with a shotgun. And it is amazing how much of a deterrent it is when it hits their respiratory system. It's like, boom, they're gone. They're gone. I just watched a video of a bear climbing the tree. Guy's in a tree stand, and he's, hey, and the bear keeps looking up, backs down 2 steps, climbs up the ladder again, and he gives it just a quick blast with the bear spray. It drops to the ground and starts running and runs full bore dead on into the middle of a tree because it can't see.
It's effective.
It's effective. Yeah.
That's the power of this animal on you. Like, can you describe that? Luckily, it was so fast on how all this happened, and the adrenaline. I mean, I just remember like blocking punches and kicking and just having that bear just trying to get closer to my head, and everything that I could do. I mean, I was scooting. It was sensory overload is the easiest way to put it. I mean, survival. That's basically it. You don't remember how tired you were in that fight. You just remember that I got to survive. Do you remember any strange details like smells, things like that? I don't. And I've been asked that question a lot. I heard that, that they have bad breath, and I did not get any of that. It was, like I said, it was fairly fast, but in 2 to 3 seconds, it's amazing, what an animal can do to you, Yeah.
Well, it just, I imagine you've recreated that scenario a bunch of times and said I should have pulled bear spray immediately, but when you start to break down, like I've done a lot of breakdown on law enforcement use of force encounters where the stimulus is so fast, you're going to have that 2 seconds to orient and go, oh, this is real. Oh my gosh. And you just don't, there's no time.
You see a cub and you're like, oh, a cub. And by the time you think that, mama's on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is something that I immediately will grab my bear spray. If a situation, I mean, I've run into grizzlies, numerous times since then. When I'm walking through brush, I'll have my bear spray out, or where it's like really easy to grab, or I'll carry it. I'll have it in my, like we came out last year after we got an elk, and we had our bear spray in hand for that quarter mile coming out at dark through the brush, and there were grizzlies there. We saw one, and it's like we were ready.
Right.
Yeah, at that time.
Did you have any trepidation about getting back in the woods after it? Did it take some time?
I'll tell you a little story here. So, before I went on that trip, my daughter Hannah, she wanted to go elk hunting, and I said, all right, when I get back, when rifle season opens up here, or not when it opens up here, but the last week we'll go elk hunting and go up for like 5 days. And like I get back after being in the hospital for 5 days. It's on I think a Friday or a Saturday, and I'm just laying on the couch for 2 days, and I'm really not in any pain. I mean, my arm is all wrapped up and kind of like a cast, and yeah, it hurts a little bit, and my face is stingy, but nothing crazy. And I'm like, Hannah, do you want to go elk hunting? So I have a friend who has some property, and it's we'll just go up for the day. And she's like, yeah. So that next 2 days, we went back down the rifle range and went back out there that morning. And lo and behold, I let out a bugle, and there's an elk down at the bottom of the drainage. So we make our way down there. We get there, and there's a nice big bull. And she got her first bull with me in a cast.
That's awesome.
That's my buddy's property. He was, 300-400 yards away, so he came in on it. And I called up a couple buddies to help pack it out because I'm worthless. I mean, I could pack, but I can't do anything as far as breaking the animal down. Yeah. So, yeah, my friend Paul was there, and then I called Gibson, who was just by chance at the top of the 4th of July Pass. And he goes, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And it was awesome. Yeah. So yeah, no PTSD. And then the next week, I went back over to Montana and filmed a hunt for a guy. And
crazy.
Yeah, it was
probably the best thing you could have done is just get back to it.
Yeah. It's never. I think I've had one bear dream, and that's it. Huh. So I've been really lucky. Yeah, it's somebody was looking out for me.
I think some of it's lifestyle choices, right? Hey, Bob, you just totally busted your ass on that backflip. You want to get up there and do it again? Yeah, let's do it. Let's give this a shot when we're 60. But you're just used to getting right back in. I mean,
it's some. I've learned a lot from that. I mean, as you were saying in law enforcement, how you go back and you analyze the situation that happened. So, I mean, when I'm walking around brush or tight trees, I'll walk around them rather than through them, especially in Montana. I'll carry my bear spray sometimes in my hand. I'll have it halfway out of the holster. And I'll have the safety off the top that you clip off of it, slid back halfway so that it's really easy to get to.
Yeah.
I just do everything to try and be as proactive and ready for the situation.
Oh, yeah. You've been through an encounter that very few people ever have, and that's survive it, where split seconds matter.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd go back to that. If you're training for something like that, that should be a part of your training regiment, just like it is with trigger control on a firearm or with draw with a bow or presentation or shot alignment or sight alignment, whatever. That should be a part of practicing getting that out really quickly and deploying it.
Exactly. And I do practice that every year. I get a can of inert bear spray and just practice pulling it out, popping the trigger and spraying.
Yeah.
And when I'm guiding people, that's the first thing that I do is I teach them how to properly use bear spray. If a bear is coming at you, you are spraying at his feet, not at its head, because the bear spray will billow up.
Right.
And the bear can run underneath it and, get hardly anything. But if you're spraying at their feet, it's going to come up and get into their respiratory system.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that I practice every year.
You've kind of changed my thought process on it a little bit, because I always carry like my 10 millimeter when I'm out in the woods, right? But even the way I carry it in a Hill People Gear chest rig, which requires opening. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I'm always like, I'll see something coming. I'll have some time. But now I believe that I will not have time, or I may not have time.
Chest, I've got a lot of friends that run the chest holder.
Yeah.
Dan runs a chest holder. I do a drop leg. Just it's right there.
Yep.
Easier for me to get around in the woods, because when it's on my backpack or on my hip, you know, your backpack's already weighing 15 to 25 pounds.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you got that, you know, the thing, the hip adjustment around there, you know, the padding on there, just so much on your hips that by the end of the month, my back is killing me. It's like I'm out of whack. So if I run it on my leg, it's easy. It's out of the way. It doesn't put more stress on my hip. Lots of people run the chest. It's right there. Boom. I mean, that's where I run my bear spray. My bear spray is on my chest, and the pistol is on my drop leg.
Okay, I'm gonna go get some bear spray.
It's definitely a something you should have.
It literally saved your life.
I'll tell you another story here. So in probably about 15 years ago, before I got attacked by the bear, I was building a place up in Priest Lake, and I went out in the afternoon to elk hunt, and I've been in a small section just sitting. It looked like a great spot. I've been cow calling and giving out a couple bugles. This is like the first weekend. And I've been there for about 45 minutes, like, all right, nothing. And I move a little bit, and there's just like this open hillside on the southern face. And I'm like, man, this looks like a great place for sheds. Lo and behold, there's a nice big 7-point shed there. I'm like, holy smokes. So I take off my backpack. I put my shed, I strap it to that. And as I'm lifting the backpack, I look up, and literally 5 yards away is a cougar looking straight at me. I'm like, great. I didn't have my pistol. I didn't carry a pistol back then, and I didn't carry bear spray back then. And that was something that I immediately thought that I wish I had my pistol.
Right.
Yes.
And I learned a lesson from that, and I ended up having to shoot that cougar. I pulled my bow back, and I was on it, and I was yelling, and I was kicking, trying to kick and gravel at it to get it to leave. I'd shot a cougar the year before, and I didn't want to shoot another one. And it's like, it's now or never, because if it lunges at me, I'm not going to be able to.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
Anyway, I learned a lesson on that. Yeah.
So you shot it with the bow. Dude. So when I see people out in the woods that don't have anything on them, I'm like, you're probably going to be okay. But you get in that situation like that and you have nothing, that would be a terrible feeling.
You're relying on luck.
You're relying on luck.
Yeah. Like, when I hunted in North Idaho, I never carried anything. I mean, I'd see black bears. We have more grizzlies here now than we did 20 years ago. Cougars, I mean, I've only seen a few cougars in all the times that I've been out. But, I had 2 within 2 years.
Well, and that's the thing. Cougar, though, they're there. You just don't see them. I mean, they aren't. You aren't going to see them unless they're.
Oh, you go to the Sunset Bar, you'll find them there.
I've been there and can concur.
At our age, cougars are a little different.
Yeah, slightly. Yeah. Well, they're getting a little older than their saber-tooths. So you got to watch.
You remember when we were kids? You watched Disney.
Yeah.
And how Disney just brought us up believing that stepmoms are bad.
Yeah.
Pornhub has a whole different outlook on that.
Perspective is important, and you only gain that with age, right? You only gain that with age.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh,
dude, that's wild. That is a life well lived, man.
That was the exact words that were coming to my mind, and the other thing, I'm like, how am I going to title this podcast episode? We talked about skiing. We talked about hunting, grizzly bears. Like, god dang, man.
Yeah, but just adventure. Like, some people are just, you swear, they're born into this spot where it's like, we're going to mess with this one a little bit. We're going to have a little fun.
He's going to have good stories.
Yeah.
It's been a lifestyle by design.
Yeah.
It really has. I didn't expect for it to be where I'm at right now with, all the different things that I've done in life. But it's just that I just had doors just kind of keep opening. If one door got closed, something else opened. It's just been, there were years that, wasn't great money doing certain things, but, it's like any sort of business, you just keep trudging forward. And then when things break loose, things, they start progressing.
Right. But it didn't just, none of it was passive. It was all because you were out there living and gambling and taking chances and adventuring. And with that came opportunity. And then when you had that opportunity, you jumped at it. It's pretty cool.
That's exactly. And I looked at that in real estate. With the first place that we had was my wife had a 900 square foot house over in Spokane. And so I moved in there, and we had our oldest daughter, Allie. Well, we had to do an addition, and that's where I got into learning construction. I mean, I've been on job sites and around construction, up here because my dad was a painting contractor, and it's something that I, enjoyed doing when I was doing it. And from there, it's like, okay, we took a chance, sold that place, came over here, bought some property just right up the road here, built a house there, and it's like, wow. Sold it, and it's just taking these calculated risks all the way through to where I'm at now. This is the 7th house that I've built and lived in for myself in 30 years.
Oh wow!
So I mean, I've been doing a lot of flipping, I guess, or doing that thing, and it's all calculated risk. Trying not to get too far ahead, and it's been a great ride.
Yeah, but it's willing to take that chance. To me, it's
Yeah.
similar. Like, you've sold a house before, so the next one you're like, all right, I know what that feels like. Just like you walk around brush, or you have your bear spray ready, right? Like, you've done it before, so it's almost, your brain's been there. You can rely on that experience.
I mean, I've always been, like I was saying earlier, a little bit of a risk taker. Nothing stupid. I mean, I've done stupid shit before, but
yeah, you're in good company.
it's always taking a risk. When you guys went out on your own, when you quit law enforcement or retired, and then, okay, now I'm going to do this. And anytime you jump into a self-employed situation, you are taking a risk on, your future. And, you can, most of the time you can make or break what happens with, by what your enthusiasm is to do that. I mean, sometimes it's, shitty luck, but I've always been a firm believer. Then I try to tell that to, my son-in-law who's married to Hannah. It's like, you got this house right now, live in it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Sell it, make some money, do it again. And that's where you make money.
And bet on you, right?
Exactly.
Bet on you, but be willing to take the chance.
Yeah. So,
well,
it's been a great ride, and I love North Idaho is definitely my favorite place. Been incredible places in the world, and there are some that I could live there, but coming back here, coming home, and having what we have here, Lake Coeur d'Alene, Hayden. Ponderay, it's been a fun one.
I got a question for you that I think you are uniquely qualified to answer. Let's going back a little. How do our ski resorts and mountains stack up?
Oh, I can tell you, Schweitzer is going to be one of the, out of, let's say, top 20 resorts in the United States.
So probably a good idea to invest up in Sandpoint right now, huh?
It's coming. It is, yeah. It's been happening. It's an incredible place to ski. You don't have the crowds. I mean, we get busy on the weekends, but it's not a Squaw Valley. It's not an Aspen or a Vail, which is good. I mean, it's not too bougie, but it's very upscale.
Yes,
it's very big. It's the biggest resort in Idaho. It's bigger than Sun Valley. There's just so much to do here, lifestyle wise. Especially up there. Got the mountain in the winter and the lake in the summer.
Yeah,
and I mean that's where we keep our boat. It's just I love the life up there.
Yeah, I like Ponderay a lot.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Coeur d'Alene has become, very busy. If I was 25 years old, that's the lake you want to be on.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
But, now, an old man, I'd be known as the creeper, I guess.
So you start storytelling.
Yeah.
Not at the sunset, man. You're still right in your prime there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Bob, thank you really for sharing these stories. It's been a really fun conversation for me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Blows my mind the people that we have that are like what I'd call North Idaho or Coeur d'Alene products. That's a cool life story.
There's been a lot of good people that have come out of North Idaho or that are here now. It's it's a glorious place and
feels very unique in that regard. I've lived in 8 different states, and I've never tapped into a community like this.
Yeah, everybody gets along.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had bad raps over the years, and it's like even during the heyday when I lived here, when that shit went down, it was like a pimple on an elephant. I mean, it was just like
Such a small.
Yeah. Small. I'm talking 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's
Oh
nothing.
yeah, I remember the parades downtown. They'd go get a permit, and they had a right to march there. We're talking about the Aryan Brotherhood stuff.
Yep.
There would be more media members in attendance than there would be participants in the parade.
It was, I'd see all the hoopla over it, and I'm like, are you shitting me?
Yeah, it's
There's-
wild.
There's nobody.
Yeah.
But, the bad apple, man.
Stigma stick,
Yeah. Sad.
do.
So,
no doubt. No, we just
Glad
got to
they're
figure
gone.
out. We just got to figure out who's going to play Bob in the movie.
I know.
That's going to be good. Who's going to cast? They've decided I'm going to get played by Danny DeVito, which is not very complimentary, by the way. That's if we make a made-for-TV movie on Hallmark starring Danny DeVito.
oh yeah, Hallmark, great.
It's terrible.
Oh my gosh. So, I've done a lot of things living in this town. As far as livelihood. I'll tell you, back in the late 80s, in the summer, I'd come home and I'd work my butt off so I had money in the winter.
Yeah.
Back then, they used to have the milk truck that ran around.
Oh, yeah.
So I drove a milk truck one summer.
That's so cool. The
And
milkman.
I pull up into the neighborhood and I'd walk up to the house and I'd flip open the box and she wants 25 gallons of milk. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I knock on the door. She comes to the door and I said, Mrs. Johnson, your card says you want 25 gallons of milk. She goes, I know. I read in Vogue magazine, if I take a milk bath, it'll stop the aging process.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, that's cool. I said, do you want that pasteurized? Nah, just up to my boobs. I'll splash it in my own eyes.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yes,
I'll
that
leave it
well
at that.
done. Yes,
that
and he
is
was the
it.
milkman. I've seen that movie on the website you mentioned before too. I've seen
plumber.
that.
Oh,
Yep.
my gosh. Thank you. Bob
that was
Legasa.
awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks,
Catch you
Bob.
later.
Thank you, man.